XM 211.
Back here on Monday, a new week, and football, Harry, once again is king. Because today the owners have been forced into a emergency meeting by the players over the weekend.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? On the week that baseball is going to come back on Thursday night, football steals the show right from the start of the week.
Exactly. Now, everybody's excited about any sport coming back. If
course.
baseball's playing these summer games, we go to a man. We were going to talk to him about the NFL and how players are reacting, but I think today is a good day to talk about chili. Because I'm understanding that the stinking good green chili may be the best chili in the country right now. And so we bring in our chili expert, the great Mark Schlereth, or Schlereth, depending on who you call. I call him Stink. You know why it's Stink, Harry? Because his podcast is his Stinkin' Truth podcast.
Exactly.
And he is Mark Schlereth, or Schlereth. I call him Schlereth because I know him a little bit. Mark, how are you, buddy?
Tony, man, always good to be on with you. I appreciate the props. I appreciate the shout-outs.
Now, of course, and the most important news recently, his show in Denver on the mornings on 104.3 The Fan with Mike Evans, dominant, number one sports show, maybe show of any kind in the mornings in Denver, Colorado, Harry. So we got to give him a roaring round of applause for that. And yet he still comes on this show on Sirius XM 211.
Now, are you doing that show in the studio, or do you do that on a Zoom too?
We do it in studio. I mean, we have enough studios, so we separate. So everybody's in a different studio. You know, the technical producer is one, the producer is in another.
Is he using his phone to do this?
We lost him.
We got to get him back, though.
Yep.
That's Mark Schlereth, and he'll get back to us in a moment here.
104.3 The Fan.
The Fan. Denver's Sports Talk Blowtorch.
Now, that's not the same station that your buddy from the Denver Nuggets was on, too, right?
I don't believe so.
We had him on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't think he's on that same station. You know, every station, all these cities have like 4 or 5 sports stations now, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about the former Denver Nugget great
Yes.
who worked with Dan Issel every once in a while.
Correct.
Yes. No, that's not the same station. It's like Philly. How many sports stations are there in this town? Like Phoenix has like 5 sports stations.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. I guess there's a lot of frequencies and airtime to fill. Yes. Not enough religious programming available to fill up all those channels.
Houston has a bunch, too.
Exactly. All right, Stink. Now, are you on your phone or are you using a computer? You're sideways again now. I have to turn sideways to watch you.
Okay. All right.
Let me turn this way.
I apologize. I'm on my phone, and I don't know what the hell you know what? Somebody called me, Tony, and I forgot to put it on airplane mode.
Damn, man.
But I'm back. I'm back. Yeah.
Just see if I order a case of the stinking green chilies now, man.
Yeah, you're not going to order them now. I don't blame you either. So, but I put it back on airplane mode, so that shouldn't happen again. Somebody called. Of course, it was spam. You know, it's an election time, right?
Exactly.
So all you get is all these damn spam calls from, you know, people across the country. Anyhow, so I apologize for that.
That's all right. I always get them from my car warranty is up, and my car warranty's been up for 3 years, so I know right away they're full of crap. All right, Mark, now the players are spoken out. You know, I knew it was some sort of a planned thing because I saw Drew Brees and I saw Carson Wentz, and then it was absolutely
Russell
the floodgates,
Wilson.
Russell Wilson. And I understand Brian Jones, the former Cowboy now in Miami, was the guy who came up with this idea. I don't have a problem with the players speaking up, but they had to force the owners, Mark, into having an emergency meeting on a Monday because they're worried about playing. And listen, everybody worries about safety right now, but do you think that with what's happening, I'm getting the sense with all the fans who are now tired of the baseball negotiations, tired of all these other sports, are they going to play, are they not going to play, and we get safety again. But now the players, as they get ready to go back to training camp, are speaking out. Where do you stand on this? I know you have to support the players because they are the product, but you think the fans are getting a little tired of all of this stuff going on when they can't get tested and they have to go to work if they work in the supermarket or drive a truck and all these other essential people, and now they're hearing athletes complaining every day?
Sure. I'm sure there's part of that, and I understand kind of both aspects of it. You know, the one thing about baseball, and I always said this about baseball during their negotiation, is at least they're honest about it. They're fighting over money, and they're fighting publicly over money. And, you know, they can talk about safety, but it was really the fight over money. And at least they're honest about it, right? They came out and they go in head-to-head. And, you know, the NFL really, they fight about or they're talking about player safety. But really what this is about is Players don't want to play it in the preseason games. They don't get paid to play in preseason games, right? So there's the safety aspect of that. The other thing is, from an ownership standpoint, is why would I want to accept, like as a player, I'm going to accept the majority, the lion's share of the risk factor, right? I'm going out, I'm playing a sport, it's a contact sport. I can get hurt. There's concussion issues, there's injury issues. And on top of that, now we're dealing with COVID issues as well. So I'm the one taking the lion's share of that risk. But you want now to put some of the financial responsibility on me as well as a player. Can we put something in escrow? Can we eliminate $40 million per team of the cap? So the players are sitting there going, wait a minute, right? You can't ask me to take all the risk and then also bail you out on the financial side as ownership. So that's where the players come in to contact, where the owners always have the upper hand, Tony, and you know this, 60% of the guys are on minimum wage contracts. So you notice who all came out and said, it's all about safety and what are we going to do? It's all guys that could afford for the league not to play this year. Yep. You don't hear the guys that are rank and file saying, hey, I'm worried about safety. No, they're worried about gaining a paycheck. And that's the majority of guys. The career still lasts 3.4 years. So I want a paycheck. I'm coming, come hell or high water, I'm coming into camp and I'm going to play because I need the money. And so that's where they're playing right now, or that's where they're butting heads right now. But, the NFL already came out and said, hey, we'll limit it instead of 2 preseason games from 4. Now we're talking about 1 preseason game. We'll see exactly where they end up. But, this is about money. It's like the NBA coming out and saying the bubble, and we got to figure this thing out, and then saying, hey, we're going to pay 8 regular season games to satisfy our RSN contracts, right? I mean, that's really what that is about. That's about money as well.
Hey, Mark, from a virus standpoint, and, since this isn't a sport that can be played in a bubble, what do you think is the biggest challenge to get the season going and to keep it going through through the end?
Obviously, it's bigger numbers. It's a contact sport, so you're, face-to-face with guys on a consistent basis. And you've got a lot of people within a locker room. So, having your social distancing is going to be hard. Obviously, what are you going to do? Is everybody going to be in a mask inside the locker room? The amount of testing and things that are going to happen. So all those things are challenges, and I think all of those things have been discussed. I don't know that they've been released. I think they've all been discussed, and I think the NFL has a plan. It's just one of those situations where we're not going to release our plan and open it to scrutiny because our plan is fluid. And so we'll see exactly kind of how that goes. But I really believe, like, baseball's been going on for a couple of weeks now. Aroldis Chapman tested positive for coronavirus. They quarantined him. The rest of the team didn't have, this mass infection or anything. So I think there's a lot of people that feel pretty comfortable or pretty confident that the season is going to go off, and there will be some hiccups along the way, but they want to leave some wiggle room to make sure that they can deal with those things as these motions are fluid throughout the NFL season.
No, you're right. Mark Schlereth joining us, and the thing is, football of all the sports is the only sport that really hasn't had anything stopped. I mean, the Super Bowl happened in Miami.
Draft.
The draft took place virtually. And so their entire process, even though there were some bumps, the free agency worked. So they really haven't missed a beat as far as conducting business from the end of the Super Bowl back in early February right on through now. Here we are in the summer where training camps are opening. So I guess that's why some people are a little irked right now as far as the fans are concerned. People always say, I'm not going to go to a game now. These guys are complaining about going back to work when people are working every day. And so that's the part that's a little bit sticky to me is we understand the players want to be safe. They are the product. But we also understand that you had a league that basically was fortunate to go through this entire year without having to shut anything down.
Question about that, and that's one of the things that irritates the players is, hey, we're going to put ourselves at a health risk, and we want to play, but don't also ask us to mitigate your losses at the same time. Now, I know the rest of the world has done that, right? I mean, there's a lot of businesses that have stopped paying bonuses and asked employees to take reductions in salary because of the lack of business going on in this country. So I understand that. But the product is still the players. Nobody comes to an NFL game to see an owner sit around his ass off. That's not why they come. They come to watch the players. Nobody comes to watch the coach call plays. They come to watch the players. And so you've got to come to an agreement at some point. And I believe they'll get this done. They're having the emergency meeting, but I believe they'll get this done and that players will be back at camp. And hey, there's going to be guys that will test positive, but I think in the long run, I think this thing will go off and they'll find a way to play games and they'll find a way to start this season. I don't know that it's going to be on time. My gut says, we're going to have to wait and see. But I feel like right now that's the plan, and the NFL feels pretty confident about kicking this thing off in September.
Do you think this would have played out similarly when you played back in your day, where I think that the players by and large had a sort of a different mindset than they do now?
I think that the players, number one, we weren't making that kind of money. So, everybody needed to come to camp. I remember after my rookie year, I started halfway through the season of my rookie year, and I needed to come back to camp to get those $750 camp checks, right? I was like, shoot, I'm about out of money. I bought a house and, I've got a mortgage and I've got a wife and 2 kids and I need some funds. So, it's different, obviously, today with the money than it was back then. But, there's a bit of a different mindset as well of what you were willing to do. And obviously, as the science has increased and we understand a little bit more about head trauma and all those things, it's a little bit different now than it was then. But most players want to play. That's what they want to do. You have been blessed. You've been touched by the hand of God to be able to play this game. And most guys, it is kind of the lifeblood that courses through their veins. So most guys want to show up. Most guys want to play.
Mark Schlereth, of course, one of the big stories, Mark, you played in Denver with the Rings and in Washington as well, and that whole Washington thing coming apart, and it looks like Dan Snyder's going to escape the the efforts to push him out because it's all on his underlings now, and so he has survived that. You played there. You know what's going on in Washington. You obviously work with Fox Sports, so you're around the league all the time. You think there's any way they're going to force Dan Snyder out after what happened last week? Because it certainly looks like that's what they wanted. Not just the name change, which they've wanted for decades, but now to get this guy out as an owner.
I don't know, unless they can link him to knowledge of the sexual harassment and involvement in sexual harassment. I don't think they'll be able to push him out like they did in Carolina with Jerry Richardson. So, obviously they've got a lot of things to do to rectify that organization. And I was texting with Ron Rivera just last week. Ron is a former player, is a man of great integrity. So they have the right person in place to clean that up. By the way, he had mentioned that, his daughter is going to be working with the Washington Redskins. So he has a lot of internal motivation to make sure that they clean that up. So he's the right man for that job. But I do think Daniel Snyder, unless they can link him directly to the sexual harassment stuff that was going on, I do think he escapes not punitive damages, but having to sell his football team.
What's your take on the Dak Prescott situation? Obviously going to play this year under the franchise tag. Do you think that Dallas really does intend on getting a deal done at some point in time with their quarterback?
Can't. The thing that drove me crazy about the whole Dak Prescott situation was, the Dallas Cowboys, they kept releasing the contract terms. One thing I know about players and agents, they don't release a contract term unless they're going to sign it, right? They don't say, hey, look, we got this money, but we're not going to sign it because it's not enough money. They don't do that. Teams do that to put pressure on the player publicly to sign a contract that's less than his quote unquote value. And the thing that drives me crazy about organizations is they all claim salary cap victim. Hey man, we're a victim of the salary cap. The salary cap can totally be manipulated. You can play anybody or pay anybody that you want to pay. That's the way the salary cap works. You can always find money. You can manipulate the cap. You can redo other people's contracts. Just look at Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, with Chris Jones. If your intent is to get it done, you'll find a way to get it done. And the other thing that drives me crazy about organizations is you can't be afraid to set the market. because the market is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and always going up. And so, if you'd have come to Dak Prescott and said it a year ago and set it at $28 million, you probably would have signed it. Now he's going to be upwards of $35-40 million that you don't want to pay him. If you did just set it early, you'd have been okay. But you decided to play this game with Dak Prescott. You tried to smear him a bit in the open market by releasing the contract that wasn't going to get signed to kind of guilt him into it. Like, that's a bad way to play. Everybody talked about Jimmy Garoppolo when he signed a $27 million deal, and we're like, oh, my God, how can you play Jimmy Garoppolo that? He's only played, he's coming off an ACL, and he's only played, 13 games in his career. Guess what? He looks like a bargain basement quarterback right now at $27 million a year, doesn't he? Don't be afraid to set the market.
Mark Schlereth getting it done. So what's the number now of sauces that are available on all your great product up there with the Stinkin', well, not just the Stinkin' Truth podcast, which you can get on any app that you have that has a podcast, but with the barbecue stuff?
A green chili sauce that we have a medium pork, a hot pork, a vegetarian, a medium chicken, a hot chicken, and we have a queso dip. So we have 6 different products here in the local Denver. We do ship, but in the local Denver, we're in New Mexico. We are also in Arizona and all of Colorado. So those things have done well over the last 12 years. And Tony, you're a guy that has a ton of money. So if you'd like to buy my company, let me know. I'll give it to you at a song and a dance, my friend.
Now you can get it at Costco too, I see, and then King Supers out there, right?
King Supers and all the Costcos in Arizona, in New Mexico, in Colorado as well. Yeah. So
but the easiest way to get it is
surely.
just to go to stinkinggood.com.
Stinking Good, right. No, just stinkinggood.com.
You can do that as well.
Now, what about keto? Do you have anything for keto?
Well, actually, I think our chili actually fits into keto. We are gluten-free. We are very low-calorie, gluten-free, high protein. It's pretty much the perfect food. So, and it ramps up. It's supposed to ramp up your calorie burning, right? Because it's hot and spicy. Mm-hmm. So, how are you going to go wrong with that? I
can't. It's too hot for Alaska, though, where you were from originally. Now, can they sell it in Alaska without hurting people?
So they can sell it in Alaska. It's just a pain in the ass to get it up there. That's all. Yeah.
Well, Mark, last thing, and of course, we live in a world now, you do it every day when you do radio. Over the last 4 months, it's like, I don't think there's going to be sports. And then the next day, it looks good. So I think we're seeing baseball being played. We're seeing golf after a couple of weeks ago where they had a couple of caddies, test positive. Now it seems like things have been good on the golf tour for a couple of weeks. NASCAR, the sports that are being played overseas, and even the soccer. The MLS is back. Tournament's been going well. So I'm a positive guy. I see sports returning, and I see them. Obviously, these leagues have it pretty much under control. We'll see what happens in the NBA bubble, and we'll see what happens with football. But the baseball stuff is encouraging, the soccer and all the other sports that are being played, golf, as you mentioned. This is a positive sign to me. Do you feel better, or do you go up and down on a roller coaster like the rest of us, depending on what the late news of the day is concerning the virus?
I don't buy into the news of the day, Chicken Little, the sky is falling, because I think there are a lot of people that unfortunately live their lives that way. They can't wait for bad news. They just are hoping for disaster and hoping that everybody fails. They almost take like a sense of pride or accomplishment when other people fail. I don't live my life that way, man. I want everybody to win. I want people to make money. I want the economy. Like, I want to be safe and I want to do all those things, but I don't live my life rooting for other people to fail. It's just not how I operate. So I have been positive through this whole thing. And the baseball thing has been really positive over the last couple of weeks to watch them play, watch them practice, watch some of these exhibition games. I've been following the KBO in Korea, watching the Korean baseball organization go and watching those games. I've been following the league in Taiwan. So, all these things to me are very positive signs. And I'm very optimistic and in a very positive state that the NFL is going to go as well. And listen, I need to be, because it's one of the jobs I have is calling NFL games for Fox. So, I have a desire for that to happen. I believe that's going to happen.
Well, you follow Mark on Twitter, at Mark Schlereth, and I got to know, have you done any more calling out of Twitter trolls like you did a few years ago with the bench press situation?
Every now and again, every now and again, I have to put some people in their place. But that's just fun. People. I was catching my son the other day because my son is still, he's still throwing, and we're trying to get signed. So I'm talking to probably 20 different major league teams, and I'm talking to the Korean League and the Taiwanese League, and so he needed a throw the other day. So I'm out in the yard catching him. And I do it from 80 feet. He's still throwing in the mid-90s.
I saw that.
And it's absolutely frightening. And so then I start getting people, busting my hump about my throwing mechanics going back. I go, you separate your shoulder 7 times, and you play 12 years in the NFL. Let me see how you throw. It's all wrist. I'm like, it hurts. That stuff hurts.
And you're an offensive lineman. You're wearing a pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah, but everybody, even Derek Holland was on me. I'm like, hey, Derek, no, don't let me come out to wherever you are right now and open a can on you, Derek. So, no, he's a great guy. He's a lot of fun, but it's always funny. There's a million critics out there, right? Everybody that doesn't want to do anything but just wants to criticize the way you do it. So that's fine. I'll play along.
And that's what I do, and that's why I'm unafraid as well. I don't let anybody give me any crap or tell me what to say or think. That's what makes America. As long as it's still America and there's still a First Amendment, I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm not going to let any trolls come after me. Harry may do that, but I won't stand for that crap.
Now, Mark, we have somebody.
Harry's not doing it either.
Mark, this is Miss Robin. We have Joey Bonocco on the Twitch stream. He's saying, ask Mark about his lawn. He will light up.
Now, Joey's out there, and he's out in Denver, isn't he? Or he's in Colorado.
I think so.
He's
so
in Colorado.
What is it about your lawn that...
I don't have any hobbies other than landscaping and lawn work. And so, as a matter of fact, this is no lie. Today I was out there putzing around in my yard this morning after I got done with my radio show, and some wonderful lady is walking with, I would assume it was her grandkids, and she walked by, and I took my little headphones out because she was saying something to me. I said, pardon me, I didn't get that. And she goes, you have the most beautiful yard in the neighborhood. And my natural response was like, yeah, I know. But I said to her, oh, thank you. That's very nice of you. It's my only hobby. So my yard is kicking your yard's ass, and I'm not afraid to let you know about it. As a matter of fact, I will occasionally write notes to my neighbors, and I will put it on their doors, and I write notes from my lawn and saying, hey, I notice how poorly you're looking over there. Is everything okay? You look sick. Can I help you with anything? Sign Mark's Lawn. And so
you're lawn shaming.
Lawn shaming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm what I would call a really good loser, but I'm a really bad winner. And right now, I am kicking everybody's ass in the neighborhood. So it's not even close.
Is it the key? It's obviously irrigation, but fertilization. Are you a Scott's guy? What do you use, Mark? I want to get a free plug in here. So I don't have a lawn.
Yeah, I use some natural products. I use this natural product called Revive. I think it's made here in Colorado. I also use a little Rich Lawn, made here in Colorado as well. So I try to stay as natural and dog friendly as possible.
What about CBD? Do you sprinkle any CBD in the lawn?
No. I'm using that for myself. And so I do that, but I will top dress my lawn. So I'll use the soil and seed mixture, and I'll put it in there. And it's all about irrigation. I always say this about culture. Culture of an organization is a lot like irrigation. Culture will follow the path of least resistance. So if you get a spot in your lawn that's kind of what I would call hydrophobic, it's not accepting water, you've got to figure out how to get the water to absorb into that soil. So culture is a lot like that. It follows the path of least resistance. So if you're not working on it on an everyday basis, you become the skins. You have that bad culture, and that will permeate your whole organization. And the next thing you know, you'll be absolute garbage.
Ladies and gentlemen,
wow.
Where else are you going to get chili talk, lawn talk, football talk, baseball talk? I mean, everything you can mix into one segment.
And Twitter troll bashing talk.
Exactly. Everything in one beautiful package. Mark, always great to talk to you, man. Continued success out there in Fort Collins and Denver, Colorado. Hello. And remember, it's all about the altitude, man. It's all about the altitude.
Thank you, Tony, man. Harry, always great catching up with you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mark.
man. There he is, Mark Schlereth.
Yep.
How good is that stuff, man?
Yeah, it's great.
That's
that
good
lawn.
stuff.
I'm looking at pictures of this lawn, man.
That's
It's
beautiful.
really. It looks like Coors Field, like the outfield at Coors Field, man. Incredible.
Listen, I would